So good morning and welcome to today's video, and I am very pleased to say the sun is out, the wind has calmed, and autumn has finally arrived in Northern Ireland. So you may remember this shot from one of the other videos I did whenever I was sharing a few tips about how to take better photos in the autumn, and I've come back down with this amazing tree. And the last video was talking about how you should be looking up, look up into the sky, because sometimes you can get these really unique perspectives, and that's what I'm doing with this tree here. I'm really low to the ground and I'm just shooting right up into the leaves. Now we've got some really lovely morning light coming in, and it's just occasionally it's peeking through and hitting the sides of the trunk of the tree. The colours are much better from the last time that I was shooting. I think it was probably about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. So the colours have definitely improved considerably. So I basically just come back to reshoot the same image as before. I think one of the key things with autumn colour is that you're always trying to hit it at its peak, so sometimes you'll need to come back down again, and probably a lot of the images that I'm going to be taking today I will have already taken over the last week and a half, but the colour just hasn't been perfect, so I'm kind of going back down to try and improve on that. A lot of the compositions might be the same, but hopefully the big difference is going to be the colour. Hopefully, I think we have literally hit peak autumn colour at the minute, so I'm hoping that these are going to turn out really nicely today. So composition is pretty simple. I just have the tree up, it's a portrait shot, I have the tree going up the left hand side of the frame, and obviously all the branches are kind of snarling back over, and we've got some lovely light coming in from the side. F16 ISO 100. I've just got a circular polarizer on as well, just to help cut out a little bit of glare, give the colours a little bit of a boost, and focus on the tree. Job done. And one of the things I noticed immediately is the difference from the last time is that this left hand side of the shot now has a beautiful orange and yellow to it, which I think from memory from the previous shot it didn't have. So what I might actually do is put up both shots side by side just to let you have a comparison, to let you see the difference. There's some lovely light hitting the tree now. Wow, what a start to the day. So I've come back down to Foley's Bridge here, and this is, I would say in Northern Ireland, this is probably the most shot location when it comes to autumn, and there's a really good reason for it, because it's amazing. There's so many different varieties of compositions. The colours here are just stunning. They are absolutely fantastic, and it's got this beautiful old stone bridge with a lovely arch in it, and you just can't not photograph it. So I was here a couple of days ago and colours were really nice. The only problem was there was a little bit of wind in the movement of the trees, which I probably could have got away with it, and I got some really nice shots, but it's almost dead calm here at the minute. So we've come back down and I'm trying to keep my shutter speed in and around about a second, so I'm still getting a nice blurred effect to the water that's flowing down through, but hopefully if there's any kind of movement, a second long exposure is not going to be too bad. If it was kind of doing maybe an 8 or a 10 or a 15-second exposure, I would be a wee bit more worried about the wind movement. But yeah, this is actually looking probably as nice as I've seen it down here. And I've photographed this location for years, but yet you can still get something different, and you're always coming back looking for a unique shot. And what actually might be quite useful to do, and I'll pop some old photos on the screen here in a minute or two and let you see just kind of how it's evolved over the years, and maybe how my style has maybe evolved slightly as well. Yeah, I can't believe how peaceful this is. Absolutely fantastic. On the front of the lens I have the Nissi Landscape circular polarizer. I have the V6 holder system, and what I've actually done is, because the tops of the trees are catching a little bit of sunlight, I've put on a soft edge grad, and I have it pulled down just at a slight angle, just to help me balance the brightness of the trees and the colour, and then obviously the darker section of where the water is. And that's it, pretty simple. Shooting at f/16 because I'm in shooting medium format here, so the depth of field is slightly different from full frame. So normally I'd be shooting f/11 or so full frame. I'm shooting f/16 on the GFX, and that's it. So just to very quickly let you see the composition that I was talking about. So I have the lovely autumn colours just up along here. A little bit here is blown out with the skies coming through, but I'll probably just patch that across maybe in Photoshop afterwards. But here we have this beautiful bridge which I've put on this top left third. Then what I'm doing is I'm using the flow of the water. So we've got 3 bits of streams here. So I've actually gone up to 3 seconds of an exposure. And what I'm finding is that's creating a really lovely stream blurred effect of the white water. So it's filling in this section of the frame which is quite dark. I've just got a little bit of sun there, so I'm just going to dial it down actually a little bit to 2.5 seconds, because the amount of detail you can lift back in these Fuji files from the shadows is just absolutely amazing. So I'm actually just waiting for different moments here whenever the sun is coming out, because I actually thought I preferred it when it was fairly flat, but the colour, it's just really intensifying the colours whenever the sun hits all of the trees up above the bridge. So again, I'm just making sure that I'm not blowing out any of that colour. And again, what is key here is a circular polarizer. I just would not shoot this scene without the polarizer, because it makes a massive difference, not only to the colour but also to the water, because it just cuts out all of the light that's wanting to bounce down onto the water. So this is quite a wide shot. This is 23mm on the GFX, which works out about 18mm on a full frame. So now that I've got this, what I might actually do is move back, maybe back over here, and shoot back upriver, and actually try and go in a little bit closer to the bridge, and also try and maybe eliminate a little bit of the sky. Oh, this is just perfect. So I've moved just back upriver a little bit, and I've set up my composition. It's kind of similar to the other one where the bridge is in the left hand side, but I've actually come up a little bit, so I'm slightly above the water here. And what I've done is I've actually selected a 16:9 crop in the Fuji system here. So it's obviously the raw file will still be uncropped and it'll still have the full thing, but it just helps me kind of see what way I'll probably crop it afterwards, and it almost looks a little bit more like a pano. One of the reasons for doing that is because up at the top of the sky now there's a lot more brightness coming in, and it's really hard to just kind of balance it all because it's blowing out quite a bit. So by coming down into the 16:9 format, I'm losing the brightest part of the trees above, but still keeping enough colour. And we've also got a massive amount of empty water space down in the bottom of the frame, so obviously by coming up into that crop, it's eliminating that as well. So a little bit of a different shot from the previous one. Maybe not as much of the colour involved in this one, but again we've got lovely blur of the water kind of running diagonally through the frame, which is quite nice. So I'm pretty happy with these. I think I'm gonna move on from this location. I'll grab one more shot and then we'll move on. Yeah, so that was a really good start. Got a couple of really nice shots that I'm really happy with. We shot a pano as well, which I'd shot last Wednesday, but there was too much brightness in the trees, so we waited today and actually got a nice spell where it was completely shaded over. So I'm hoping that that's going to stitch together really nicely. But yeah, oh, it's so good to be out here. Like, the colours are amazing. Autumn has finally arrived, and it seems like I've waited so long for this because this is probably my 5th or 6th time down here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I might come down again next week just to see if there's any change, but yeah, this is amazing. So my plan, I'm going to try and stay away from the really busy areas now. I've got that. I thought it actually would have been busier, but thankfully it wasn't. So I'm going to head way up into the forest, out of the way. I have another waterfall to shoot, and I'm also then just going to try and focus on some nice trees, so try and get into the actual forest and maybe pick out little details. That's something I'm not overly good at. I'm not overly good at seeing something like that in the chaos of a whole forest, so we'll see how we get on. But I think I'm gonna head up to the waterfall first, and hopefully there's no one else there. But yeah, wow, I was so disappointed this year. I had hoped to get over to the Lake District to shoot autumn because it was there in February time, just before lockdown, and just had a blast, fell in love with the place. And unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be this year. But do you know what, maybe that's a good thing, because seeing what's on your own doorstep, the beauty that's here, it's just amazing. It's really made me appreciate what we have here in Northern Ireland. We've a really amazing mix of landscape. Yeah, so really good morning so far. Okay, so we have come up to the other waterfall. To be honest, there's not an awful lot of autumn colour here, which is a little bit disappointing, but the only good thing, and the only thing that probably screams autumn, is that there's quite a lot of leaves. Let's just see down here, just in the foreground. So obviously this is going to be a portrait composition, so that I can get the waterfall coming through the arch of the bridge. But I think I'm going to have to get really low to this foreground and shoot quite tight in to try and get it framed perfectly, because there's really no point in me including any of the other leaves and trees around it, because there's not an awful lot of colour, which is a little bit disappointing. But perhaps I'm actually just still a little bit early for here, so I may come back in another week's time. But yeah, I think I'm going to set up, grab one shot here, and then probably head back downriver. So I found a really nice composition here where we've put the bridge up on the top left, and then we've got this lovely flow of water down here. It's also being framed by the arch of the bridge. Now, the only thing I have a gripe with is there's a pool of light it's being reflected in the water, and I just can't cut it out with the polarizer, and I just find it's really, really distracting in the scene. So I've taken a shot, I guess more as a reference just to see, but to me it's instead of the eye being drawn to the waterfall, it's being drawn directly to that patch of bright light. So I may have to move slightly lower and try and get almost below the light so that I'm almost shooting across the surface and it's not going to be as reflective. This is so much better. Really, really love this composition. I'm still using the arch to frame up the shot, to frame up the waterfall, but this time I have the waterfall on the other side of the bridge. I have it on the top right third, and then in my foreground I have this other little waterfall and this amazing blanket of lovely golden leaves. So they're kind of running in at a diagonal, and then the water is flowing out of the right hand side of the frame. So it's quite a nice almost zigzag right through the frame. Now what I might need to do here is actually focus stack, because the foreground is probably only maybe 1.5 feet or so away from the front of the lens. So I'm going to take a couple of exposures. I'm going to take one focus on the foreground and then one focused about 1/3 of the way in way I would normally focus, just in case, just to make sure that I have everything. So again, the only filter I have on is one of the Nissy Landscape circular polarizers, no NDs. And because I'm shooting up at f/16 ISO 100, I'm getting about a 3-second long exposure, which is perfect. So I'm getting quite a lot of blurring of the water, and I'm not really concerned because there's really no leaves or trees in the shot, so if there's any movement like that, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's one thing to say, it's amazing even just moving. I've literally moved about 3 foot backwards and slightly down to the right, and it has completely changed this composition. It is so much better. So much better. So this is becoming a little bit disjointed. I've come down, I'm heading back towards the car, and I've come down to a couple of spots that I thought would have been really good because I scouted them out a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately most of the leaves have gone, so the colour has disappeared. And I'm trying really, really hard not to go back down and just shoot the normal places that I've shot earlier in the week. So I've come across to the other side of the river. I'm going to follow this path back down and see what I can find. So I've come down to the infamous tree you probably see behind me, which I've vlogged many times before. I don't even think I'm going to bother shooting because the light is not actually hitting it at the minute, so it's not that nice. And I was here on Wednesday, so as I say, I probably got better shots on Wednesday, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. I need to head back home. But what I might do is actually drop in a few images over the last few days that I've been out shooting, and hopefully they will inspire you to get out and catch the last colour of autumn. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next video.